Now, I'm sure you've heard about this. People that are overweight are much greater at risk for getting COVID-19 than if you're not overweight and you're actually healthy, right? But the question is, why? Well, there's some very interesting reasons. Let's go through all of them. Number one, the extra fat in your abdomen puts physical pressure on your diaphragm and your lungs, restricting oxygen. And so this makes the lung more susceptible to having problems. In addition to that, overweight people have a much greater problem with sleep apnea, which also decreases the oxygen to the lungs. Number two, people that are overweight and obese have a much greater risk of getting blood clots to the small vessels of the lung, as well as the inside of the arteries. And I'm sure you've probably heard about this, the link between blood clots and COVID-19 infection. Well, there's one right there. There's a risk factor. Number three, when someone is obese, the fat is so overwhelming that it's spilling over from the liver into the organs. It's infiltrating fat in the spleen, which is a really key immune organ, the thymus, which is like the training camp for T cells, and the bone marrow. So that alone is going to decrease your immune system. Number four, people that are obese have chronic inflammation, and inflammation alone increases someone's risk for what's called a cytokine storm, which is an inflammatory condition that is out of control. And by the way, the best antidote for that would be vitamin D. And that's in some other videos. Number five, insulin resistance worsens obesity, and obesity worsens insulin resistance. And people that have insulin resistance or are obese have an increased ACE2 receptor overexpression. Now, what does that mean? It means they're more susceptible to getting SARS-CoV-2. And this is also the reason why children aren't hardly at all affected by COVID-19, because they haven't developed these receptors yet. And also, insulin resistance takes many years to develop, chronic consumption of carbs, right? You develop this over a period of time, and then you become more susceptible to this particular virus. And insulin resistance takes a longer time to develop. So even if a child is consuming a lot of carbohydrates, they might not have insulin resistance for quite some years. But of course, they're not even expressing that ACE2 receptor until after they get a little bit older. So they're not at risk. And number six, people that are overweight and are obese are nearly always low in vitamin D. In fact, if you combine people that are overweight and obese, that would total 72% of that group being deficient in vitamin D. And vitamin D is the most important vitamin to help minimize the complications, the side effects, and the severity of COVID-19, let alone decrease your susceptibility to that virus. Now, how do you handle people that are overweight and obese? It's very, very simple. If you're new to my channel, I put a link down below. You just do healthy keto and intermittent fasting.
Hey, before you go, real quick, I have a course entitled How to Bulletproof Your Immune System. It's a free course. I want you to take it. And here's why. Here's you. Here is your environment. Everyone is focused on this over here, avoiding your environment. But what about here? What about strengthening your immune system? That's what's missing. This course will show you how to bulletproof yourself, and so you can tolerate and resist your environment much better by strengthening your own immune system. I put a link down in the description right down below. Check it out and get signed up today.